Act like my wife. The words followed me all the way to the car, echoing louder with every step. This was not a suggestion. It was an order. By the time we arrived at the Hayes estate, I already knew I was walking into something worse than the contract. Judgment. He stepped out, heels sinking slightly into the gravel as the massive house loomed ahead. Todo big. Todo perfect. Todo cold. Stay close, Alexander said beside me, his voice low. Not gentle. Controlled. He nodded once, even though my chest was tightening. The doors opened before we reached them. And the stairs hit immediately. Sharp. Assessing. His family. He felt it in my skin. Every glance said the same thing. You do not belong here. A tall woman in an elegant navy dress stepped forward. His mother. He did not need an introduction to know. Her eyes moved over me slowly, deliberately. Maturing. Then she smiled. Polite. Empty. So this is the girl, she said. Not Emily. Not his wife. Just the girl. It rushed to my face, but I held my ground. Emily Carter, I said, forcing my voice steady. Your son's wife. The word felt strange coming out of my mouth. Wife. Her smile tightened just a fraction. Temporary things should not be announced so boldly. The room went quiet. My stomach dropped. Temporary. He glanced at Alexander. Just for a second. Waiting. Hoping. He said nothing. Not a word. My throat went dry. Of course he would not. This was the deal. No emotions. No interference. He looked back at her, forcing myself not to flinch. Temporary or not, I said quietly, it is still real. A beat of silence. Then a soft laugh from somewhere behind her. Real, another woman said, stepping forward. Younger. Beautiful. Perfect. Do you even know who you are standing next to? Her eyes locked on mine. Cold. Confident. You are just a contract. The word hit like a slap. Contract. Not a person. Not a wife. Just a role. He felt it break something inside me. Just a little. He should stay quiet. He should play along. That is what I agreed to. But my hands clenched at my sides. And yet, I said, my voice sharper now, I am the one standing here. The air shifted. Tension snapped tight. And still, he said nothing. Not. When they looked at me like I was nothing. Not when they tore me down in front of him. He turned slightly toward him, just enough that only he would see it. My eyes met his. I question. A silent one. Are you going to say anything at all? His expression did not change. Not even a little. And in that moment, he understood exactly what I was to him. Disposable. Replaceable. Nothing. But then his mother spoke again, her voice calm and cutting. Let us see how long you last. My pulse spiked. Because something about the way she said it sounded less like doubt, and more like a threat. Let us see how long you last. Her words followed me into the dining room like a countdown I could not stop. He sat at the long table, hands folded tight in my lap, trying not to show how out of place I felt. Every glass, every plate, every movement around me screamed wealth. Control. And I was the flaw in the picture. You must be overwhelmed, the younger woman from earlier said, taking the seat across from me. Her smile was sharp. This lifestyle is not exactly accessible. He felt the sting, but I did not look away. I will adjust, I said quietly. She leaned in slightly, voice dropping. Or you will break. A few soft laughs followed. My chest tightened. He could feel the weight of their attention, waiting for me to crack. Waiting for me to prove them right. He opened my mouth to respond, but another voice cut in first. Mali. Smooth. Making. So this is the famous contract wife. He turned. A man I did not recognize leaned against the doorway, glass in hand, eyes scanning me openly. Not respectful. Not kind. Tell me, he continued, stepping closer, how much did it cost to buy you? The words landed hard. Too loud. Too public. It rushed to my face, but I forced myself to stay still. Do not react. Do not break. That was the deal. He glanced at Alexander again. Just 11. Waiting. Distime, something shifted. He set his glass down. Slow. Deliberate. Then he stood. The room quieted without him needing to say a word. He walked toward us, each step controlled, measured. And then he stopped right beside me. Close. Too close. My breath caught. He did not look at me. Not yet. His gaze locked on the man instead. Cold. Watch your mouth, he said, voice low but cutting through the room. Silence fell instantly. The man laughed, trying to recover. Relax, I was just asking, you were disrespecting my wife. The word hit differently this time. Wife. Firm. Final. Not a performance. Not hesitation. My heart skipped. The man's smile faded. Did not realize you cared that much, he muttered. Alexander's expression did not change. I care about what reflects on me. And just like that, the moment snapped back into place. Not for me. For him. For his image. He swallowed the strange ache rising in my chest. Of course. It was never about me. It never would be. It turned to me then, finally meeting my eyes. Just for a second. Something unreadable flickered there, before it disappeared completely. Do not misunderstand, he said quietly. And somehow, that hurt more than everything else combined. Do not misunderstand. The words stayed with me long after the room cleared. He stood on the balcony outside the dining hall, gripping the cold railing, trying to steady my breathing. Of course I misunderstood. Because for 1 second, it had felt real. You should not take it personally. His voice came from behind me. Calm. Controlled. Like nothing had happened. He did not turn around. You called me your wife, I said quietly. In front of everyone. A pause. Then his footsteps stopped a few feet away. Not close. Never close unless it served a purpose. That was the role, he replied. Flat. Plan. He let out a slow breath, forcing the tightness in my chest down. Then you are very convincing. He finally turned to face him. His expression had not changed. Still unreadable. Still distant. That is why I chose you, he said. My brows pulled together. Because I can pretend? His eyes held mine for a second too long. Because you understand boundaries. Something about that answer felt wrong. Too sharp. Too deliberate. Like he was reminding me, or warning me. I crossed my arms, trying to regain some control. Then let us be clear, I said. I do not need your protection if it only exists for appearances. His jaw tightened. Just slightly. The fierce crack I had seen all night. You needed it back there, he said. Low. Controlled. He stepped forward before I could stop myself. And you needed to say it was not real right after. Silence. Sick. Heavy. His gaze dropped for half a second. Then lifted again, colder than before. You are forgetting your position, Emily. There it was. The line. The wall. He felt something inside me snap back into place. Hard. No, I said quietly. I am remembering it. He stepped back, creating distance this time. My distance. This is a contract. Nothing more. The words tasted bitter, but I forced them out anyway. His expression did not change. But something shifted in his eyes. Something darker. Good, he said. Then do not act like it is anything else. My chest tightened again, but I held his gaze, He would not be the one to break first. Not in this. Not with him. He turned away before he could say anything else. Because if I stayed any longer, he might forget that this was never supposed to feel real. But as I walked back inside, one thought would not leave me. If it was all just an act, then why did it hurt this much when he reminded me? If this was just a contract, then why did it feel like I was the only one bleeding from it? He stepped back into the main hall, forcing my face into something neutral, something controlled. That was the deal. No emotions. No cracks. Emily. The voice cut through the noise instantly. Female. Smooth. Familiar in a way that made my stomach drop. He turned. And then I saw her. Bland. Elegant. Perfect in a way that made the entire room shift around her. She did not look at me like the others had. No curiosity. No mockery. Just certainty. Like she already knew exactly who I was, and what I was not. She stopped right in front of me, her gaze steady. You must be the contract, she said. Nota question. My chest tightened, but I held her stare. Emily Carter, I replied evenly. His wife. Her lips curved slightly. Not a smile. Something sharper. That is temporary. The word hit again. Temporary. Always temporary. He swallowed it down. Still valid, I said. A beat of silence. Then she stepped closer. So close. You are standing in a place that was meant for me. My pulse spiked. There it was. The real threat. Not the family. Not the humiliation. Here. He tilted my chin slightly. Then you should have been here first. The air snapped tight between us. Her eyes darkened for a fraction of a second. Then she smiled. Calm. Control. Dangerous. I did not think you would go this far, she said softly. Marrying someone like you. The insult was quiet. Precise. Designed to cut deeper. And it worked. He felt it. But I did not break. Not in front of her. Not in front of anyone. And yet he did, I said. Then her gaze shifted. Past me. He did not need to turn to know who was standing there. Alexander, she said, her voice changing instantly. Softer. Familiar. Like she belonged to him. Like she always had. He turned slowly. It was already watching us. Expresión agradable. Tensión coiled tight in his shoulders. She walked past me without another word and stopped right in front of him. Close. Natural. Like there had never been distance between them at all. You did not tell me you were getting married, she said quietly. The room went silent again. Waiting. Watching. He stood there, suddenly very aware of where I was. And where I was not. His answer came a second later. Calm. Control. It was not necessary. Her eyes flickered. Just slightly. Then she smiled again. Slow. Certain. We will see about that. My breath caught. Because something in her voice made one thing very clear. This was not over. It had not even started yet. We will see about that. Her words did not leave the room. They spread. He felt it in every glance that followed, every whisper that did not even try to hide anymore. He stayed where I was, but I could feel the shift. He was no longer just the outsider. He was the obstacle. You look uncomfortable. Her voice again. Closer this time. He turned slowly. She had not left. Of course she had not. She circled me like she had all the time in the world. This life is not built for someone like you, she continued softly. It breaks people. My fingers curled at my sides. Then I will learn faster, I said. My voice was steady. My pulse was not. She smiled again. That same calm. Cutting smile. Or you will embarrass him. The word hit harder than anything before. Not me. He felt it land exactly where she wanted it to. You think he will protect you, she added, tilting her head slightly. He never protected me. My breath caught. That one sentence said more than everything else. History. Real history. He did not respond. He could not. Because for the first time, doubt slipped in not about her. About him. Before I could say anything, someone called for attention across the room. Glass tapped. Voices lowered. His mother stepped forward, smiling like nothing had happened. Since everyone is here, she said smoothly, we should properly introduce Alexander's wife. The pause was deliberate. The room turned toward me. Fully. Completely. No escape. My chest tightened as I stepped forward beside him. This was part of it. The role. The act. He lifted my chin. Emily Carter, his mother continued, her tone polished. A girl with remarkable timing. A few quiet laughs followed. He felt the heat rise again. Control. Public. Surgical humiliation. He glanced at Alexander. Just 11. He stood still. Silent. Again. The words stuck in my throat. He wanted him to say something. Anything. But he did not. Of course he did not. So I forced myself to speak. Timing or not, I said, my voice cutting through the room, I am still the one he married. Silence. Sharp. Immediate. He could feel every eye on me. Waiting for him to correct me. To deny it. To put me back in place. My heart pounded as I turned to him. And for 1 second. He did not know which one he would choose. The silence after my words felt like standing on the edge of a cliff, waiting to fall. He could feel every eye in the room shift to him. Waiting. Judging. Deciding what I was worth based on what he would say next. My heart pounded so hard it almost drowned everything out. Do not humiliate me. Not here. Not like this. I held his gaze, refusing to look away first. If I broke now, I would never recover from it. Alexander did not move. Not at first. His expression stayed cold. Controlled. Untouched by the tension suffocating the room. And for 1 second. He thought he would say nothing again. My chest tightened. Of course. That would be easier. Safer. Then his hand moved. Fast. Decisive. He stepped forward and pulled me slightly toward him, his arm settling around my waist like it belonged there. My breath caught instantly. The room shifted. She is not wrong, he said. His voice cut clean through the silence. Low. Firm. She is my wife. The words landed harder than anything before. Not quiet. Not hesitant. A statement. Final. He felt it. Not just in the room, but in me. My pulse spiked, confusion crashing into something warmer. Dangerous. Real. His mother's smile faded. Used slightly. The blonde woman, his past, was still beside us. For the first time, her confidence cracked. Alexander, she said softly, like she was trying to pull him back. You do not have to pretend this much. He did not even look at her. His arm tightened just enough for me to notice. Just enough for everyone to notice. I am not pretending, he replied. Calm. Un second. The room erupted in quiet whispers. Shock. Doubt. Curiosity. He stood there, caught between disbelief and something I did not want to name. Because this was not part of the deal. Or was it? I forced myself to breathe, to stay still, to remember what this was. A contract. Nothing more. But his hand did not move. His voice did not waver. And for one terrifying second, it felt like I was the only one still pretending. Then, slowly, he leaned closer. Just enough that only I could hear him. Do not read into it, he said quietly. The words hit colder than everything else combined. My chest tightened again. Of course. Of course this was still just an act. But then why, did it feel like he just crossed a line neither of us could step back from? Do not read into it. His voice still echoed in my head long after his hand left my waist. The party blurred after that. Faces. Voices. None of it stayed. Only the way he said those words. Cold. Final. He stepped into the quiet hallway, finally able to breathe again. This was what I agreed to. A performance. Nothing more. So why did it feel like something had already slipped out of control? You left early. His voice again. Being me. Always controlled. Always exactly where I did not expect him. He turned slowly. I needed air, I said. He studied me for a second. So closely. Like he was trying to read something I did not want him to see. You handled yourself well, he said. My brows pulled together slightly. That was not what I expected. Is that a compliment? He asked. A pause. Then, it is an observation. Of course it was. He let out a quiet breath, tension still sitting heavy in my chest. You did not have to say that back there, I added. You could have let them think whatever they wanted. His gaze sharpened. And damage my credibility, he replied. No, the words hit exactly where they were meant to. He nodded once. Right. Image. Always image. I looked away, trying to ignore the small, sharp disappointment building under my ribs. Then thank you for protecting your reputation, I said quietly. Silence stretched between us. Then something shifted. Subtle. Almost unnoticeable. He stepped closer. Not too close. Back closer than before. You were shaking, he said. My breath caught. He had not noticed. Or maybe I had, and ignored it. I was fine, I replied quickly. So quickly. His eyes held mine. Steady. Un mover. You do not have to lie about that. The words landed softer than anything he had said before. And somehow, that made it worse. Because for 1 second, it felt like he saw me. Not the contract. Not the role. Me. He swallowed hard, forcing that thought away. It does not matter, I said. This is temporary. You will get used to it. His jaw heightened slightly. Just enough for me to notice. You should not have to get used to being disrespected, he said. My heart skipped. That was new. That was not part of the deal. He searched his face, trying to understand what he meant. But it was already gone. Replaced by that same cold control. Do not mistake that for concern, he added. And just like that, the moment broke. Again. He looked at him, something inside me pulling in 2 different directions at once. Because if he did not care, then why did it feel like he almost did? He should have known better than to believe even a second of that moment meant anything. The next morning proved it. He walked down the hallway toward his study, stopping when I heard voices inside. His voice. Calm. Control. Familiar. It is just a contract, Alexander said. The words hit instantly. Hard. He froze outside the door, my hand hovering in the air. Another voice answered. Mali. Amused. Then why go this far? Marriage is not exactly a small move. A pause. Then his reply. Plan. Sharp. Because it solves a problem. Nothing more. My chest tightened. Solves a problem. That was what I was. Not a person. Not even an inconvenience. A solution. He should walk away. He knew that. But I could not move. Not yet. And the girl, the man pressed. She knows her place. Alexander did not hesitate. She was chosen because she will not complicate things. Each word landed like it was meant to erase something inside me. I swallowed hard, forcing myself to stay quiet, to not make a sound. No emotions. No expectations. She will leave when the contract ends. That was it. Claire. Final. There was nothing left to misunderstand. He stepped back slowly, my heart pounding louder than the voices behind the door. He needed to leave before he saw me. Before I said something I could not take back. Before I broke in front of him. He turned the corner quickly, my breathing uneven, my chest tight. Of course. This was always the reality. He was the only one who forgot. By the time I reached the end of the hall, I had already rebuilt the wall inside me. Stronger. Colder. Necessary. If he wanted this to be nothing, then I would give him exactly that. Later, when I saw him again, I did not hesitate. He did not soften. He did not look for anything in his eyes. We should review the contract timeline, I said calmly. His gaze sharpened immediately. Something changed. Now, he asked. He met his eyes, steady this time. Yes. The sooner we are clear, the easier it will be when it ends. Silence stretched between us. Heavy. Different. Because this time. He was the one pulling away first. And for the first time since this started. He saw something flicker in his expression that did not look like control at all. The sooner we are clear, the easier it will be when it ends. He meant every word when I said it. He had to. It was the only way to survive. This. Alexander did not answer right away. He just looked at me, like he was trying to figure out what had changed. He held his gaze, steady, unmovido. No cracks. No hesitation. You seem very eager for it to end, he said finally. His voice was calm, but something underneath it felt sharper. He shrugged lightly. That is the agreement. A pause. Then I added, or did that part change too? His jaw tightened. Used slightly. There it was again. That small shift I was starting to notice. Nothing has changed, he said. Flat. Controlled. Good. That made this easier. Then we should keep it that way, I replied. He stepped closer to the table, pulling the contract folder toward me like it was a shield. Public appearances. Coint events. Minimum 1 year, I listed, my voice steady. After that, we separate. Plan. No complications. The words felt colder coming out of my mouth this time. But necessary. Every single one. He watched me in silence. Not interrupting. Not agreeing either. Just watching. It was starting to get under my skin. Is there a problem? He asked, finally looking up again. A bit of silence. Then, you are different today. The words caught me off guard. He did not let it show. I am being professional, I said. His gaze did not soften. If anything, it sharpened. You were not before. That stung more than it should have. I forced a small, tight smile. I am now. Another silence. Seeker this time. It took a step closer. Not enough to touch. Enough to make my pulse shift anyway. Good, he said quietly. Then keep it that way. The words mirrored mine. All perfectly. Like a challenge. He nodded once. That was exactly what I planned to do. No more confusion. No more reading into things that were never real. Just the contract. Just the end. He turned to leave before the tension could stretch any further. But his voice stopped me again. Emily. He froze. Slowly, I turned back. His expression had not changed. Still controlled. Still unreadable. Do not forget, he said, his tone low, deliberate. You are still my wife while this contract exists. My breath caught for half a second. There was something in the way he said it, that did not sound like a reminder. It sounded like a warning. You are still my wife while this contract exists. His words did not feel like a reminder. They felt like a line being drawn. And I had no idea why. The next morning, I found out. He stepped into the living room and froze. Cameras. Lights. People moving fast, setting up like this was normal. My chest tightened instantly. What is this? He asked, my voice sharper than I intended. A woman with a clipboard turned toward me. Press announcement, she said casually. Mr. Hayes did not tell you. Of course he did not. My stomach dropped. Before I could respond, his voice cut in behind me. It is scheduled. He turned. It was already dressed. Perfect. Control. Like this had always been the plan. You are announcing this? He asked. Today. I did not hesitate. It needs to be public. My pulse spiked. Public meant real. Public meant permanent. Or at least, it would look that way. You could have told me, I said, keeping my voice low but tight. His gaze held mine, steady, unreadable. You are here now. That was his answer. That was all I got. He let out a slow breath, forcing the reaction down. Fine. If this was the role, I would play it. But this was not small. This was exposure. We go live in 5, someone called out. My chest tightened again. No time. No space to think. Just action. He stepped closer to him, lowering my voice. What exactly do you expect me to say? A pause. Then he leaned slightly closer. Close enough that only I could hear. Say nothing wrong. Not helpful. Not reassuring. Just control. Always control. He straightened, forcing my expression into something calm. Something convincing. If they wanted a perfect wife, they would get one. The cameras turned toward us. Lights flashed on. The room shifted instantly. And then he reached for my hand. Slow. Deliberate. My breath caught for half a second. This again. This line he kept crossing without explanation. The host smiled brightly. Mr. Hayes, is it true? You got married in secret. The question hung in the air. Allah's on him. Waiting. Watching. I did not look at the cameras. I looked at me. Just for a second. Then back forward. Yes, he said. Simple. Final. The room erupted. Questions. Noise. Pressure. And then came the one I was not ready for. Mr. Hayes, the reporter said, turning directly to me, are you in love with your husband? My heart stopped. Because for the first time. He did not know which answer would hurt more. Are you in love with your husband? The question hit like a spotlight straight through my chest. Todo direct. Todo dangerous. Todo real. Every camera turned toward me. Waiting. Recording. Judging. I felt Alexander's hand tighten slightly around mine. Not enough for anyone else to notice. Enough for me to feel it. A warning. Oraque. He lifted my chin, forcing my expression calm. Control. That is a very personal question, I said smoothly. A few reporters laughed, but they did not back off. Of course they did not. But you did marry him, another voice pushed. There has to be a reason. My pulse spiked. There was a reason. Just not one I could say. He glanced at him. Just for a second. It was already watching me. Waiting to see what I would do. Fine. You want a performance? He can give you one. He let out a soft breath, then turned back to the cameras. I would not have married him if I did not feel something, I said. Not a lie. Not the truth either. The room reacted instantly. Murmurs. Interest. The story they wanted. He could feel the tension shift beside me. His grip on my hand tightened again. Used slightly. The next question came fast. And you, Mr. the reporter pressed. Do you feel the same way? Silence fell again. I did not answer right away. My heart pounded. Because this time. He did not know what he would say. Or if he would say anything at all. Then his voice cut through the noise. Calm. Control. I do not make decisions like this without reason. The words landed clean. Careful. Avoiding the question without denying it. The reporters leaned in hungry for more. But I was already pulling back inside myself. Because I heard what he really said. Listen. Not love. Never love. The cameras kept flashing. The questions kept coming. But I had already stepped back behind the wall I rebuilt yesterday. Strong. Cold. Necessary. This was just a role. Nothing more. That was what I told myself. That was what I needed to believe. The event ended not long after, the noise fading as quickly as it came. But the tension did not. Not between us. Not anymore. As we walked out, his hand finally let go of mine. The absence hit immediately. He hated that it did. He stopped walking. I did not. Not at first. Then he turned back, his gaze sharp. You handled that well, he said. Again. Always observation. Never emotion. He nodded once. I am learning. A pause. Then I added, it is easier when I remember what this is. His expression shifted. Used slightly. And what is that? He asked. He met his eyes, steady this time. No hesitation. No confusion left. A contract, I said. Silence. Heavy. Then something in his gaze darkened. Not anger. Not exactly. Something else. Something I could not name. Good, he said quietly. Do not forget it again. He turned away before he could see the flicker in my eyes. Because for 1 second. He almost did. Do not forget it again. He did not. He could not. That was why, the moment I saw her waiting in the lobby the next morning. He already knew this was not over. She stood there like she belonged. Like she had never left. Perfect. Untouched. Watching me walk in like I was the one out of place. You are adjusting quickly, she said as I got closer. Her voice was calm. Polite. Sharp underneath. He stopped a few feet away. Not too close. Not weak. I learn fast, I replied. She smiled. That same controlled smile. You will have to. A pause. Then she stepped closer. Just enough to lower her voice. This world does not forgive mistakes. My chest tightened, but I held steady. Then I will not make any. Her eyes flickered slightly. Like she was amused. Or annoyed. Hard to tell. You already did, she said softly. You married him. The words hit clean. Direct. He felt it. But I did not let it show. Not anymore. That seems to bother you more than me, I said. Her smile faded just a fraction. There it was. A crack. Small. But real. It should not, she replied. I know how this ends. My pulse shifted. Then enlighten me, I said. She held my gaze for a long second. Then leaned in. Just slightly. Close enough that no one else would hear. You walk away, she said. And he does not even look back. The confidence in her voice should have shaken me. Maybe yesterday it would have. Not today. Not anymore. He straightened slightly, creating distance again. Then I will make sure I am the one who leaves first, I said quietly. Something in her expression changed again. Not amusement this time. Something sharper. Before she could respond, A voice cut in behind us. That will not be necessary. He froze. Slowly, I turned. Alexander stood there, watching us. His gaze locked on her first. Not me. Never me first. The air shifted instantly. She straightened, her entire demeanor changing. Softer. Familiar. Like she had done this before. Alexander, she said, her voice almost gentle. We need to talk. It did not move. Did not soften. Did not look away. We have nothing to discuss, he replied. Cold. Final. The tension snapped tight between them. And for the first time, he realized something I was not supposed to see. This was not just unfinished. This was war. And somehow, he was already standing in the middle of it. We have nothing to discuss. The way Alexander said it should have ended the conversation. It did not. She stepped closer anyway. Not aggressive. Not loud. Just certain. Like she knew exactly where to push. You always say that, she replied softly. And yet you always listen. The air tightened instantly. He stayed still. Watching. Because this was not about me anymore. This was something older. Deeper. That was before, he said. His voice did not rise. It did not need to. It cut anyway. She tilted her head slightly, studying him. Before what? She asked. A pause. Then her eyes flicked to me. Slow. Deliberate. Before her. My chest tightened, but I did not move. He would not give her that. Not again. Alexander's expression hardened. This is not your concern. The words landed cold. Final. But she did not step back. Not even a little. It was always my concern, she said quietly. You just chose to forget. Something in his jaw shifted. Tighten. The first real crack I had seen. He felt it. That tension. That history. And suddenly, I was standing in something I did not understand. We are done here, he said. Sharp this time. A warning. But she smiled. Slow. Certain. Like she had been waiting for that reaction. No, she said. We are not. The room seemed to close in around us. He could feel it building. Whatever this was, it was about to explode. Then she turned to me again. Fully this time. Do you know why he really married you? She asked. My pulse spiked. That question again. Always that question. He held her gaze, steady. Because he chose to, I said. Her smile widened slightly. No, she said softly. Because he needed someone, disposable. The word hit harder than it should have. Because I had heard it before. From him. From everyone. But hearing it from her, felt different. Personal. Intentional. He felt the sting. He did. But I did not let it show. Not this time. Then that makes me useful, I replied quietly. Silence. Sharp. Unexpected. Something flickered in her eyes. Surprise. Maybe even irritation. Before she could respond, Alexander stepped forward. Between us this time. Not beside me. Between. A line. A boundary. Enough, he said. His voice dropped lower. Controlled. But there was something under it now. Something darker. You do not get to speak about her like that. The words hit the room like a shift in gravity. Not just a defense. Something more. My breath caught. Because this time, it did not sound like it was for appearances at all. She went still. For the first time since this started. Completely still. Then she smiled again. But this time, it did not reach her eyes. You are making a mistake, she said softly. And when it falls apart, Do not expect me to fix it again. My chest tightened. Again. That word. Again. He looked at him. Because suddenly. He needed to know. What had she fixed before? And why did it feel like I was about to be the next thing that broke? What had she fixed before? The question would not leave my head. It followed me all the way out of the lobby, through the silence that settled the second she walked away. He did not wait. What did she mean? He asked, my voice sharper than I intended. Alexander did not answer right away. He just walked. Control. Un botered. Like nothing had just happened. That made it worse. You heard her, I pressed, stepping in front of him this time, forcing him to stop. She said she fixed something. What did she fix? His eyes locked on mine. Cold. Closed. It is not relevant. The dismissal hit instantly. It is to me, I shot back. If I am standing in something that already broke once, I deserve to know. A beat of silence. Tension snapped tight between us. Then he exhaled slowly. Not frustration. Control. Always control. It was a business arrangement, he said finally. One that required direction. That was not an answer. Not really. Direction? He repeated. That is all you are going to say. His gaze hardened. That is all you need to know. The wall was back. Stronger than before. He felt it slam into place. Fine. If that was how he wanted to play this, he could do the same. He stepped back slightly, crossing my arms. Then let me be clear, I said, my voice steady again. I am not here to clean up your past. Something in his expression shifted. Fast. Sharp. You are here to fulfill your role, he replied. And there it was. The line again. The contract. The reminder. He nodded once. Tight. Control. Then maybe you should make sure your past does not interfere with it. Silence. Heavy. Because we both knew, it already had. He did not respond. Not immediately. His jaw tightened slightly, his gaze flickering away for just a second before locking back onto mine. That was new. That hesitation. That crack. It will not, he said. But something in his voice was not as certain as before. He held his gaze, searching for something I could not name. Trust. Truce. Anything. But it was already gone. Replaced by that same cold control. Always control. He turned away first this time. Because staying any longer would only make this worse. But as I walked away, one thought would not stop repeating in my head. If she had already fixed him once, what exactly had broken in the first place? And why did it feel like I was about to find out the hard way? If I was about to find out the hard way, it started that same night. He walked into the bedroom and froze. My suitcase was gone. Everything he brought with me. Gone. My chest tightened instantly. What is this? I asked, turning sharply as the door closed behind me. Alexander stood there, calm as ever. You will not need those anymore, he said. Like he was talking about something insignificant. Disposable. Just like everything else. My pulse spiked. Those are my things. He did not move. You have everything you need here now. He let out a short, disbelieving breath. That was not your decision to make. For a second, something flickered in his eyes. Then it disappeared. It is now, he replied. The words landed harder than they should have. Control. Again. Always control. He stepped forward, anger rising before I could stop it. You do not get to erase my life just because I signed a contract. Silence. Sharp. His gaze locked on mine. Not cold this time. Focused. Intense. You agreed to represent me, he said. That includes how you present yourself. Where do you belong? The last part hit differently. Where do you belong? Like he was trying to define it. Limited. He clenched my jaw. I belong wherever I decide to, I shot back. A beat of silence. Then he stepped closer. Not fast. Not aggressive. Just deliberate. Enough to make my breath shift anyway. Not in this world, he said quietly. The words cut deeper than anything else. Because they were not loud. They were certain. He felt it. That line again. The one I could not cross. The one he would not let me cross. He forced myself to hold his gaze. Do not step back. Then maybe this world is the problem, I said. For a second, something changed. His expression. His stance. Like I said something he did not expect. Something he did not like. Or something he understood too well. But it was gone just as fast. You will adjust, he said. Final. He exhaled slowly, the anger settling into something colder. Sharper. Or I will leave, I replied. Silence fell instantly. Heavy. Different. Because this time. He meant it. His eyes darkened. Just slightly. Then his voice dropped. Lower than before. You are not leaving. My breath caught. Because that did not sound like part of the contract at all. You are not leaving. His voice did not rise. It did not need to. It lacked something in place. And that was exactly why I had to break it. He did not argue. Not this time. He just moved. I turned, walked straight past him, and reached for the closet door. What are you doing? He asked. Calm. But sharper now. He did not look at him. Packing, I said. My voice did not shake. Not anymore. He pulled out the first suitcase I could find. Empty. Waiting. Like this moment had been planned long before I admitted it. Emily. My name. Low. Controlled. A warning. He ignored it. He started pulling clothes from the racks. Not his. Mine. The ones he replaced. The ones I had to ask for back from storage an hour ago because I was not disappearing. Not into his world. Not into his control. This is not how this works, he said. Closer now. He could feel it. The pressure. The shift. He zipped the first bag halfway, then turned to face him. No, I said quietly. This is exactly how it works. Silence. Seek. He did not like that. He could see it. You said this was a contract, I continued. Temporary. Plan. No complications. Each word landed harder than the last. Because now. He meant them differently. I am just making sure it stays that way. His gaze darkened. By walking out, he asked. He nodded once. Before I forget that this is not real. That heat. He saw it. For a split second, something broke through the control. Something sharp. Something I had never seen before. You are overreacting, he said. The words were calm. Todo calm. Like he was trying to contain something underneath. He let out a short breath. No, I replied. I am reacting exactly the way someone should when they realize they are being erased. That landed. Harder than anything else. Silence filled the room. Heavy. Final. Then I picked up the suitcase. Actually picked it up this time. Not just a threat. Not just words. Action. He moved toward the door. And this time, he moved faster. His hand caught my wrist before I could reach it. Firm. Not painful. Impossible to ignore. My breath caught. Again. Always him. Always this. You are not walking out on this, he said, his voice lower than before. Not calm anymore. Not fully controlled. He turned slowly, my pulse racing, my grip tightening on the suitcase handle. Watch me, I said. And for the first time, he was not sure which one of us was about to lose control first. Watch me. The words left my mouth before I could stop them. And for a second, neither of us moved. His hand was still wrapped around my wrist. Firm. Unyielding. My pulse hammered against it. But I did not pull away. Not yet. Not first. Let go, I said quietly. His grip did not loosen. If anything, it tightened. Just enough to make my breath catch. No, he said. Low. Final. The word hit harder than it should have. Because it was not just refusal. It was control. Again. Always control. Something inside me snapped. Plan. Sarp. You do not get to decide that, I shot back, yanking my hand free this time. It let go. Not because I overpowered him. Because he chose to. That made it worse. Everything with him was a choice. Calculated. Controlled. He stepped back, putting distance between us, my chest rising and falling too fast. This was your deal, I continued. Your rules. Your timeline. He followed all of it. My voice did not break. It would not. But you do not get to trap me in something that was never real. Silence. Heavy. It did not interrupt. It did not deflect. It just watched me. And that was new. You said I would leave when it ends, I added. I am just leaving before I forget that part. That landed. He saw it. Not in his words. In his eyes. A shift. A crack. Something unfamiliar. That is not how this works, he said again. But this time, it did not sound certain. He let out a slow breath. Then maybe you should have thought about that before you started acting like it was something more. The words slipped out before I could stop them. Too honest. Too close to the truth I was trying to avoid. His expression changed instantly. Sharp. Focused. I did not, he said. Quick. Immediate. Too immediate. He held his gaze, my heart tightening. Then why does it feel like you did? Silence. This time, real silence. Not control. Not calculation. Just nothing. And that scared me more than anything else. Because for the first time, he did not have an answer. My grip tightened on the suitcase. He turned. Toward the door again. This time, I did not hesitate. He did not wait. My hand reached for the handle, and then his voice stopped me again. Not sharp. Not cold. Something else. If you walk out that door, I froze. Slowly. My breath catching in my chest. Because something in his tone told me, whatever he said next, would change everything. If you walk out that door, his voice stopped me before my hand could even touch the handle. He froze. Not because he raised his voice. But because he did not. It was lower. Raffy. Like something was breaking under the surface. He did not turn around. Then what? He asked quietly. Silence stretched behind me. Heavy. Then his voice came again. Slower this time. Then do not come back. The words hit. Hard. Final. My chest tightened instantly. That was it. Not a confession. Not a reason to stay. Just another line. Another wall. He let out a slow breath, forcing the ache down. Of course. This was who he was. Control. Distance. No emotion. He nodded once, even though he could not see it. That will not be a problem, I said. My voice did not shake. He made sure of it. He opened the door. This time, nothing stopped me. Not his voice. Not his presence. Not whatever this thing between us almost became. He walked out. Each step felt heavier than the last, but I did not slow down. He did not look back. Because if I did, he might stay. And I could not afford that. Not anymore. Not with him. Not in something that was never real. By the time I reached the driveway, the night air hit my face, sharp and cold. He inhaled deeply, like I was finally breathing for the first time since I signed that contract. Freedom. That was what this was supposed to feel like. So why did it hurt? He tightened my grip on the suitcase and kept walking. Do not think. Do not feel. Just leave. But then. He stopped. My phone buzzed in my hand. A number I did not recognize. He hesitated for half a second before answering. Hello? My voice was steady. It had to be. Silence. Then a voice. Familiar. Female. Calm. Controlled. You made the right choice, she said. My stomach dropped instantly. You always leave eventually. My grip tightened. Around the phone. What do you want? He asked. A soft laugh on the other end. Not kind. Not friendly. Certain. I want you to understand something, she said. A pause. Then the words that made my blood run cold. You were never meant to stay. My breath caught. Because something in her tone told me, this was never just about a contract. And somehow, he had just stepped into something much bigger than I ever agreed to. You were never meant to stay. Her words did not end with the call. They followed me. Into the silence. Into every step I took away from that house. He should have ignored it. Walked away. Closed this entire chapter. But I did not. Because something about the way she said it felt like a warning. Not a threat. He stopped walking. Slowly. My grip tightened around the phone. What does that mean? He asked. My voice was steady. Barely. A soft exhale came through the line. Like she had been waiting for that question. It means, she said calmly, you were chosen for a reason. My chest tightened. I know that, I replied. It is a contract. A pause. Then a quiet laugh. Not my king. Not kind either. Certain. If you still think this is just a contract, she said, then you understand nothing. The words hit harder than they should have. Because deep down. He already knew that. Then explain it, I said, sharper now. Why me? Silence. Just for a second. Then her voice dropped slightly. Because you were easy to remove. My breath caught. That was not what I expected. Not replaceable. Not convenient. Remove. Deliberate. Planned. Remove from what? He pressed. Distime, she did not answer right away. He could hear it. De hesitation. De calculation. Then finally, from him. The world seemed to tilt slightly. My grip on the phone tightened. You think I was meant to distract him? He asked. Or protect him? Another pause. Longer this time. Then, both. The answer landed like a slow realization. Not sharp. Not immediate. Worse. It spread. From what? He whispered. Back the line went quiet. Completely. Hello? Nothing. The call ended. I stood there, staring at the screen, my mind racing faster than I could control. This was not random. Not accidental. He had been placed. Chosen. For something I did not understand. And somehow, he had just walked away from it. A cold realization settled in my chest. Because if I was meant to protect him, then what exactly had I just left him alone with? And why did it suddenly feel like the danger was not behind me, but still waiting ahead? He should have kept walking. He should have left it behind. But the question would not let me. What was I protecting him from? And why did it feel like I was the only one who did not know? He turned back. Fast. My steps quick, sharp, almost reckless as I headed back toward the estate. This was not about the contract anymore. Not about pride. Not even about him. This was about the truth. By the time I reached the gates, my heart was already racing. Todo fast. Todo loud. The guard hesitated when he saw me. Miss Carter, open it, I said. No hesitation. No softness left. Edith. Of course he did. He walked straight in. The house felt different now. Quieter. Tense. Like something had already shifted in my absence. He did not stop until I reached his study. The door was slightly open. Voices inside. He froze. Not because I wanted to. Because I recognized one of them. Her. You really think she was enough, she said. Calm. Controlled. Like this was just another conversation. My chest tightened instantly. She was not meant to be enough, Alexander replied. My breath caught. His voice. Lower than usual. Tighter. She was meant to buy time. The words hit like a shock straight through me. Buy time. Not protect. Not care. Just delay. He stepped closer to the door without thinking. My fingers curling slightly against the frame. And now, she asked. Silence. Just for a second. Then, now it is over. Something inside me dropped. Hard. Final. He felt it in my chest before I even processed it. Over. That was it. That was all I was. A temporary solution. A distraction. A shield he no longer needed. My grip tightened against the door. He should walk away. He should leave before they saw me. Before this became worse. But I could not move. Not yet. Not after hearing that. You should have told me sooner, she continued. I would not have wasted my time. His response came slower this time. It was necessary. Necessary. The word echoed in my head. Cold. Precise. Calculated. Just like everything else about him. He stepped back slowly, my chest tightening with every second. This was the truth. Not the moments. Not the looks. Not the things I almost believed. These. He turned before they could see me. Because I refused to let them watch me break. But as I walked away, one question would not stop repeating in my mind. If it was already over, then why did it feel like I was the only one who did not know when it ended? Over. The word kept echoing in my head like something breaking on repeat. He did not stop walking until I was outside again. The air hit harder this time. Colder. Sharper. Like it was trying to wake me up from something I should have seen coming. Of course it was never real. Of course I was just time. Just a solution. Just something he used until he did not need it anymore. He let out a slow breath, forcing my chest to steady. No more confusion. No more questions. Just clarity. Painful. Plan. Necessary. My phone buzzed again in my hand. He almost ignored it this time. Almost. But something in me knew. He answered without checking the number. You heard, did you not? Her voice came through. Calm. Certain. My grip tightened instantly. You wanted me to hear it, I replied. Not a question. A fact. A soft pause. Then, yes. No denial. No hesitation. My chest tightened again, but this time, it was different. Not shock. Not confusion. Just anger. Sharp. Controlled. Why? He asked. Silence. Then her voice dropped slightly. Because you needed to understand your place. The words hit hard. But they did not break me. Not anymore. And what place is that? He asked. A quiet exhale. Then, the one he never keeps. My breath slowed. Not from calm. From something colder. Something stronger. Then what warned me at all? He pressed. Another pause. Longer this time. Then her answer came softer. Almost careful. Because this time, it is different. That stopped me. Completely. My grip tightened again. Different how? He asked. Silence. Then, he did not let go first. My heart stuttered. Just once. He hated that it did. He forced my voice steady. He already did, I said. Because I heard it. He knew it. He saw it. Over. That was what he said. That was what this was. No, she replied quietly. He said it was over. But he did not end it. My chest tightened again. This time, deeper. More dangerous. Because that made no sense. None at all. What are you talking about? He asked. But the line went silent. Again. He stared at the phone, my thoughts racing faster than I could control. Because suddenly, the pieces did not fit anymore. If it was over, why did it feel like something was still unfinished? And worse, why did it feel like I had just walked away right before something I was supposed to see? Maybe I walked away too early. The thought hit me harder than anything else. He stood there, staring at my phone, replaying her words over and over again. I did not end it. Then what was that? What did I just leave behind? I exhaled slowly, trying to push it down. No, I heard him. He saw it. Over. That was real. That had to be real. But something did not feel finished. Something still felt open. My chest tightened. He hated that feeling. He hated that it pulled me back toward him. That weren't everything I just escaped. He should go. He knew that. He should get in a car, go anywhere else, and never look back. But my feet did not move. Not yet. Because one question would not stop repeating. If he did not end it, then what was I to him right now? He turned slowly. The estate stood behind me, silent. Untouched. Like nothing had changed. But everything had. He took one step back toward it. Then another. Slow. Careful. Like I was walking into something I did not fully understand. By the time I reached the door again, my pulse was already racing. Too fast. Too loud. I hesitated. Just for a second. Then I pushed it open. The house was quiet. Too quiet. No voices. No movement. Just silence. My chest tightened. Something was wrong. He moved quickly through the hallway, my steps sharper now, my breathing uneven. Alexander? He called out. No answer. That made it worse. He turned the corner toward his study, and stopped. The door was open. The room was empty. Completely. My stomach dropped. He stepped inside slowly, my eyes scanning everything. Nothing out of place. Nothing broken. Nothing obvious. But something was missing. Him. He turned sharply, my heart pounding harder now. Where did he go? Then I saw it. A single folder left open on the desk. He should not look. He knew that. But I stepped closer anyway. My fingers hovered for half a second before I picked it up. And then I froze. My breath catching in my chest. Because the name at the top of the file was mine. And underneath it, one line stood out more than anything else. Termination pending approval. My pulse spiked instantly. Because if this was already decided, then why did it say pending? And more importantly, who had not approved it yet? Termination pending approval. The words would not move. They stayed there, burning into my mind like something unfinished. Because that was the problem. It was unfinished. He swallowed hard, my grip tightening on the folder. Pending meant someone had not signed. Someone had not agreed. And I already knew who that someone was. He closed the file slowly, my pulse racing faster now. This was not over. Not legally. Not officially. Not completely. And that changed everything. He turned sharply, stepping out of the study, my mind moving faster than my body could keep up. Where did he go? The house was still quiet. So quiet. Like it was waiting. Then I heard it. The front door. Opening. Closing. My breath caught. He moved without thinking, my steps squeaked as I reached the foyer, and stopped. It was there. Standing just inside the door. Still. Like he had not expected to see me. For a second, neither of us spoke. The silence stretched. Heavy. Loaded with everything that had not been said. My heart pounded against my chest. This was it. The moment I either walked away, or finally asked the question that would change everything. He lifted the folder slightly in my hand. Just enough for him to see it. His gaze dropped to it. Then back to me. Something shifted. Sharp. Immediate. You should not have touched that, he said. Low. Control. He stepped closer anyway. Then you should not have left it open, I shot back. The tension snapped tight between us. Distime. He did not back down. Termination pending approval, I said, my voice steady despite the storm inside me. Whose approval? Silence. Real silence. His jaw tightened. His gaze locked on mine. And for the first time, he did not answer immediately. That was all I needed. Yours, I said. Not a question. Ariel is asking. His expression shifted. Just slightly. And now to confirm it. My chest tightened. Because that meant one thing. You did not end it, I said quietly. The words hung between us. Heavy. Irreversible. His voice came a second later. Lower than before. Not cold this time. Something else. No, my breath caught. Because suddenly, everything I thought I understood, was wrong. And that left only one question. Then why did you let me walk away? Then why did you let me walk away? The question did not leave the space between us. It stayed there. Heavy. Demanding an answer he clearly did not want to give. Alexander did not respond immediately. Of course he did not. He never did when it mattered. His jaw tightened slightly, his gaze shifting away for just a second before locking back onto mine. That hesitation told me everything I needed to know. Because you wanted to, he said finally. Calm. Control. Safe. He let out a short breath, shaking my head. No, I said quietly. That is not the answer. He stepped closer, closing the distance he always tried to maintain. You do not let things happen. You control them. Silence. Sharp. He held his gaze, refusing to look away. So I will ask again, I continued, my voice lower now. Why did you let me go? Distime, something shifted. Not fully. Not completely. But enough. His control cracked. Used slightly. Because I needed to know, he said. The words were quieter. Rafi. Not calculated. Real. My breath caught. Know what? He asked. It held my gaze for a long second. Then, if you would come back. The world seemed to stop. Just for a second. My chest tightened, my pulse stuttering in a way I could not control. That was not what I expected. Not logic. Not strategy. Something else. Something dangerous. He swallowed hard, forcing my voice steady. And if I did not? He asked. A beat of silence. Then. His answer came, low and certain. Then it would have been over. The words hit differently now. Not cold. Not dismissive. Final in a way that felt real. He looked down at the folder in my hand, then back at him. So I was a test? He asked. His expression tightened. No too fast. Though immediate. Then what was I? Silence. This time, deeper. Longer. Because he did not have a simple answer. Not anymore. He felt it. The shift. The line we had been standing on this entire time, breaking. He took another step closer without thinking. My voice quieter now. More dangerous. Say it, I said. His eyes darkened. Not with anger. With something else entirely. Something I was not ready for. Something I had been trying to avoid since the beginning. I exhaled slowly, like the words cost him something. Then, you were never just the contract. My breath caught. Because that changed everything. And at the same time, it made one question impossible to ignore. If I was never just the contract, then why did he spend so much time pretending I was? You were never just the contract. The words should have been enough. They were not. Because everything he had done said the opposite. He held his gaze, my chest tightening under the weight of it. Then what was I? He asked. My voice was steady. It had to be. I stepped closer. Not fast. Not forceful. Just certain. The only variable I could not control, he said. The answer hit harder than I expected. Because it was not romantic. It was honest. And that made it dangerous. He let out a slow breath, shaking my head slightly. That is not a reason to keep someone, I said. His eyes darkened. I am not trying to keep you. The words landed cold. So cold. My chest tightened instantly. Of course. Of course he would say that. He nodded once, stepping back this time. Putting distance between us again. Then we are done here, I said. Plan. Final. Just like he taught me. He turned. Ready to walk away again. This time for real. No hesitation. No doubt. Back before I could take more than one step, Emily. My name. Different this time. Not a command. Not a warning. Something else. He stopped. Slowly. My back still to him. My pulse already shifting. Do not walk away like this, he said. My grip tightened slightly at my sides. Like what? He asked. Like it meant nothing. The words hit. Harder than anything else. He turned back, my eyes locking onto his. That is exactly what it was supposed to be, I said. His jaw tightened. That is what I told myself, he corrected. Silence. Sharp. Immediate. My breath caught. Because that was new. Completely new. He took a step closer without realizing it. And now? He asked quietly. I held my gaze. No hesitation this time. No control to hide behind. Now I am telling you I was wrong. The world seemed to tilt slightly. Just enough to throw everything off balance. Because this was not part of the deal. This was not part of the plan. This was something else entirely. Something real. Something dangerous. My chest tightened, my thoughts racing faster than I could control. You do not get to change the terms now, I said, even though my voice was not as steady as before. I did not step back. Did not look away. I am not changing the terms, he said. I am ending them. My breath caught. Because that was not what I expected. Not at all. And before I could react, no contract, he continued, his voice lower now. No conditions. A beat of silence. Then the words that changed everything. Just me choosing you. Just me choosing you. The words hit harder than every rule, every warning, every lie we had built this marriage on. I stood there, staring at him, my breath caught somewhere between disbelief and hope. Dangerous soapy. The kind I had been trying to kill since the day I signed that contract. You do not get to say that now, I said quietly. My voice was not strong enough. He hated that. His gaze never left mine. I know, he said. No defense. No excuse. Just truth. That was new too. Todo new. Todo lati. Then why now? He asked. My chest tightened with every word. Why after all of this? After you let me think I meant nothing. Silence stretched between us. Heavy. Honest. Then he stepped closer again. Not enough to touch. Enough to make my pulse race anyway. Because you were right, he said. I hid behind the contract. He kept calling this control because I did not know what to do with anything real. The words landed slowly. Not like a performance. Not like strategy. Like something dragged out of him piece by piece. He swallowed hard, my eyes burning in a way I refused to acknowledge. And I was supposed to just survive that? He asked. While you decided when this was real and when it was not. His jaw tightened. Not in anger. In regret. No, he said quietly. You were not. The answer broke something open in me. Because it was the first time he had not tried to justify it. The first time he had simply admitted I was hurt. I looked down for a second, trying to steady myself. You made me feel disposable, I said. The words came out lower than I expected. Scarperto. Like I was only there until your real life started again. I moved then. Just one step. Close enough that I could feel the warmth of him, the tension in him, all of it stripped of that cold distance he always wore like armor. Emily, he said, and my name in his voice sounded different now. Softer. Un guardet. You were never outside my real life. You became the part one could not lose. My heart stuttered. Hard. Painfully. Because that was the thing I had needed to hear and the one thing I was most afraid to believe. He lifted my eyes to his. And if I do not trust you yet? He asked. I did not hesitate this time. Then I earn it, he said. Without a contract. Without conditions. For as long as it takes. My breath caught again. Because this time. He believed he meant it. And that was somehow more terrifying than any lie ever was. Trust should have felt impossible after everything. Instead, standing there in front of Alexander, it felt like the one thing left worth choosing. My chest was still tight. My heart still bruised. But it was no longer breaking. It was deciding. He held his gaze and let the silence sit between us for one long second. Then I took the folder in my hand, looked down at the termination page, and tore it clean in half. The sound cracked through the room like the end of something old. His eyes locked on me, dark and unguarded. No more pending, I said quietly. No more half choices. If this happens now, it happens for real. His breath shifted. Just slightly. Real. That was the word that had haunted us from the beginning. It took one step closer, careful this time, like he understood that I was not something to control anymore. For real, he repeated. Not as a promise to trap me. As a promise to meet me where I stood. He let out a slow breath I felt like I had been holding since the day he first offered me that contract. Then hear me clearly, I said. I am not staying because I owe you. Not for my mother. Not for the deal. Not because you asked. His jaw tightened, but he did not interrupt. Good. He needed him to hear all of it. I stay, I continued, my voice steadier now, only if you understand that I am not your solution. I am not your shield. And I am never again the woman you hide behind. The words landed. Fully. I nodded once. Slow. Serious. You are the woman I stand beside, he said. No hesitation. No performance. Just truth. Something inside me finally gave way. Not pain. Relief. The sharp kind. The kind that leaves you weak for 1 second and stronger the next. I stepped into him then, closing the last of the distance myself. His hand came to my waist carefully, like he was still asking. Like he always would from now on. I looked up at him and, for the first time, nothing in me wanted to run. So this is your final answer? He asked softly. His forehead lowered until it nearly touched mine. No contract, he said. No conditions. Just tu ese. He smiled through the ache that had finally turned into something warmer. Something safe. Something earned. Good, I whispered. Because this time, it is real.